Okay, so today I'm going to be making a video to follow up my video about the power rule and the product rule. Kind of put two in one in that video. I can make a separate video on the power rule if you want, but that one's pretty simple. But today I'm going to be doing the chain rule. So essentially what the chain rule says if you have some function where f of x is equal to g of h of x, so basically a nested function. So you're asking, okay, sorry, my mic. But you're asking kind of what does this look like? Well, an example of a nested function like that would be maybe sine of e to the x. Now, you can't just apply the product rule here because it's not two separate functions. It's a function inside of a function. So what do we do to combat this? We do the chain rule. So the chain rule says for something f of x equals g prime of g of h of x, f prime of x is going to be equal to, and there's a formula just like the product rule, it's going to be g prime of x and then um, times g of h of x. So by the way, this should be an h, but you essentially want to multiply uh, the original function by a correction factor. So this correction factor sometimes is known as u or something like that. But so something like sine of e to the x. Um, Instead, what we would do for this is it would be we would find the derivative of the inside. So the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. So that means that this is e to the x. Also, there should be a prime here. Yeah, I kind of messed up the notation, but actual equation is h prime of x and then g prime h of x. And you might be asking, okay, how does that g prime work? Essentially, so there's a sign here. Rather than it being a sine, we're just going to take the derivative of sine, and that's cosine. So the derivative of that function is cosine of e to the x. If you understand how to do this, it's really easy. To show it better, I'll try to come up with a function right now that's a little better. So maybe something like, f of x equals uh, cosine of 4x cubed, okay? Because the derivative of 4x cubed isn't 4x cubed. So how would we do this? So we know the derivative of 4x cubed is going to be 12x squared. And so we know we have to multiply. This is going to be our correction factor, okay? And we know that we also have to take the derivative of this. So that means that f prime of x is going to be equal to 12x squared times, and just because we're multiplying it like this, I'll just put it like negative sine because that's the derivative of cosine times 4x cubed. Um, and so that means that f prime of x is going to be equal to negative 12x squared sine of 4x cubed. So, yeah, I can't really write it, but you heard me. It's sine of 4x cubed. So it's a very easy rule. All these rules for differentiation are very simple and can be applied to really any function if you know how to apply it. Harder part is integration. I think my next videos are going to be more focused on integration. Um, and then so uh, yeah, so something like I kind of did in my other video, but to show that this rule kind of works, something that we could use the power rule for, so maybe like 5x cubed to find the derivative of this. Using the power rule, we know we just have to multiply the 3 and subtract 1 here. So we would get 15x squared. Well, if we wanted to use the chain rule, you can do a little trick. You can say, okay, well, really, 5x cubed is just, or let me make it easier, just let me make it 125x cubed. We know this is going to be 375x squared. I'm choosing this number just because it's 5 cubed. But let's say that we instead are trying to write this as 5x cubed. Okay. Well, we can use the chain rule. There's nothing on the outside, but we want to multiply it on the outside by 5. So it's going to be 5, like this is the correction factor, just 5. There's no function here except there's a power here. So that's really our function. It's taking 5x and it's cubing it. So now what we're going to do, the inside stays the same, but we have a 2 here instead. So we have a 2 here, and we bring down a 3 right here. So we have 3 times 5 times 5x squared, which is equal to 15 times 25x squared, which is equal to 375x squared. So really, like, all these videos I've showed the power rule, product rule, chain rule, they all do the same thing and will always give you the same result. The difference is the the case you have of the function. If you have a nested function like this, you want to use chain rule. Now, there might be sine or cosine rules you can make so that this becomes a product rule or something like that, and it'll make it a lot easier. I mean, if we try to do this with product rule, it'd be extremely, extremely difficult. I don't even know how possible it would be, but they all are trying to just find the same thing. That's why you can use multiple rules for a lot of functions, such as simple functions, power functions. Yeah. So my next video, I'll probably cover using product and power rule, so some harder functions, and power rule, something like that. Something tough, maybe like f of x equals e to the x sine of 4x cubed, like how you would solve that. Basically, all you would have to do, equal sign right here, all you would have to do is this entire function can be broken up into two functions. So this is u and v. So you can apply product rule for this. But in order to find the derivative of this, now you have to use a chain rule. So the first step you would do chain rule on sine of 4x cubed, and then you would do product rule on that answer. So yeah, that'll be my next video. Probably be uploaded tomorrow or today. Yeah. But thanks for watching, and yeah, let me know if you want me to make anything else.